Welcome to another video from the files of Unsolved Ghost Stories. This video will feature more real-world horror stories that will haunt your dreams. So let's get right into these creepy stories. Number 4. My girlfriend and I had been together for a few years when this happened. We lived in an apartment building on the second floor. I'll get right to the point. About midnight or a little after midnight, I heard someone outside near a shack in our back parking lot. While sitting at my computer, I heard something. I looked outside, but there was nothing. I turned the light off. After hearing the sound again, I looked out, then down toward the shack. I was shocked to see a man standing right next to the shack looking right at me. It didn't scare me at all. I just went back to what I was doing since people might have been smoking back there. But since it was late, I just kept working. I went to bed and looked out there about 20 minutes later, and he was still there, looking right at me. I said, whatever, and went to bed. Around the same time the next day, I said, this is impossible. I looked outside, and it was the same person doing the same thing. When I told my friend about it, he thought it was funny, but the guy stood there for hours. Next morning, when I told my girlfriend, she was freaked out. I looked out there again the next morning, but no one was out there, at least not yet. I look out at 1:30 in the morning, and guess who is there? That same guy. I recorded some of it and made sure my girlfriend was there to see it. This is what I caught on camera.
It's 2:49
So it's 2:49 a.m. and this guy have been out there for an hour, and the cops still haven't shown up. So I called again to see if they show up. Meanwhile, I will film it to keep a record of what has been happening. The guy has been out there for 3 nights now, and I haven't really been paying that much attention to him since sometimes people go back there to talk on the phone or smoke cigarettes late at night. In any case, this guy has just been staring out our window. I didn't really pay much attention until I realized that he was in the same area every night and was not moving, just staring at our window, and I could see him when I was at my computer. Yeah. I'm gonna record this and keep a record as video evidence because after that night, the cops never shut down and he showed up a few times more. But I wasn't too worried since I had a weapon. To date, I have not seen this guy. I am not sure what his deal was, but it didn't really scare me. It was just a bit weird. Number 3. Several years ago, my friends and I went exploring in a neighborhood which was rumored to be haunted or had urban legends associated with it. The road we were too scared to explore was the one that we avoided until we were all brave enough to venture down it. Apparently, this road was haunted by spirits called Chikawas. It was always eerie to walk past this road to walk to and from school and home because it was barricaded from passing traffic. I went to the road one night with a group of friends and we stopped at the barricade. No one responded when I asked if everybody was ready. Because no one made a noise, I walked on the other side of the barricade so everyone could follow me until someone spoke. It didn't take us 2 steps on the road before we all ran away. We decided to go the next day during daytime. It was the weekend and there wasn't anything else to do. So as my friends and I explored the abandoned road, we started talking about how we have seen figures down that road when we have gone by. Our conversation went about halfway down the road. When I was talking about where I saw a figure and how I was feeling eerie, something didn't feel right at that moment. It sounds like a little girl is talking, and this is what we caught on camera.
Really where I found. Down right there.
Did you?
What? The heck?
I think they just need help. Wait.
Dude, I swear, did you not hear that?
Did you just hear someone struggle?
I hear.
Did you?
Our group stayed for a little longer after recording that, but neither I nor my friends heard anything else when we left. When we showed our parents, they thought we walked off camera to yell "help me." We went to the police, but they thought the same thing. When my friends and I did some research on that road and where we heard the voices, there used to be a spirit camp for the Chikawas there. But since then, we haven't seen any little girls. We haven't been back there for some time. It baffles me that we heard someone yelling, "Help me," twice. Number 2. I am a school resource officer in Austin, Texas. While working graveyard shift last year, my buddy and I got a call from the campus because an alarm had been set off. As my partner and I walked to the campus, we went to a hallway where rooms 143 and 144 could be found. As I cleared the area, I told my buddy that I was going to the restroom and he should wait for me. As I stepped out, my buddy signaled to me to be quiet and listen. I noticed he had his gun drawn, so I drew mine. The silence was broken by what sounded like shuffling or something being dragged across the floor. Then I told my partner there was someone here, and I thought, oh shoot. We walked the entire campus again and again. After that, we found nothing. My partner and I returned to the same spot and I asked him to go. Moreover, he stated that it was the raccoons on the ceiling who made the noises. Then, he banged on the wall and we heard another bang from far away. We rushed out in a bit of a hurry since we knew the campus was empty. On our way outside, we heard clear screeching, but we couldn't figure out where it came from. Upon getting back into our patrol car, we asked ourselves who would know anything about this campus. My partner mentioned another officer whom I knew well and who knew the campus history, so I called him since he was the only one on duty anyway. We only asked a third officer if they knew about this campus. Oh yes, the haunted area is between rooms 143 and 144. My partner and I were stunned when the third officer said that he had a video of the area. Here's the video. As we reviewed the video, it was consistent with the noises we heard that night, and the video from a year ago was uploaded by the third officer. Number 1. When I was a freshman in high school, I met my stalker. Things began innocently enough, but soon went horribly wrong. A girl named Alexa added me on Snapchat after my first day of school. Seeing as how I didn't know her like that, I thought nothing of it. Then she started hitting on me, but I didn't like that about her. As I was walking home after school, she randomly told me she added me to a private story. Okay, I didn't ask her about it. I checked her private story when I got home out of curiosity, but what I saw disturbed me a lot. It was a video of me walking home, but not too far from my house. The caption said, "Kiss me already." Did she just want me to turn around? As soon as I saw her story and gave her a kiss, I realized she had been behind me the whole time. I got over it quickly since I didn't think she was a threat, just a creepy, harmless girl. I should have blocked her, but I lost my sweater one day. All my previous classes, including Lost and Found, were checked. Finally, I gave up because it was nowhere to be found. Over the course of a random lunch period, I eventually bumped into Alexa at the water fountain. It was one of the most socially awkward interactions I've ever had. I was really creeped out when I saw her for the first time in person. Sorry, I didn't notice she was wearing my sweater, but I pretended not to notice. She probably stole it when I wasn't paying attention. At first, she didn't say anything, so I felt uncomfortable during this moment of silence. Then, in this emotionless stare, she asked, "Do you want to hang out later?" I excused myself from this creepy conversation by saying I had to go to the bathroom. She then gave me a look of irritation. As I walked away from her, I felt relieved that it was over. From that day on, I stopped opening her snaps and avoided her at all costs. 2 months or so into the school year, me and a good friend were planning to have a party in his basement. It was one of those typical high school parties. As a result, we made sure that no private information was revealed about our party. We didn't want any random guests to come over. It was a big no-no. So he gave me approval for posting on my Snapchat story that there was a party tonight. I saw that Alexa responded within 30 seconds and that a message had been sent. Knowing that she was strange, I never replied back to her, knowing that she was asking to come. As the party began, I was having a great time, and all of a sudden, I heard a commotion in another room. Curious, I looked in there and saw my friend. He shouted at Alexa and her two other weird friends. Alexa noticed me and gave me this hideous look. Her tantrum started when she walked up to me ready to fight me. She talked about how I didn't answer her snaps and how I didn't want her to come. She started throwing a fit in front of everyone. After having a mental breakdown for another 2 minutes, she stormed out. We later discovered that she had snuck into his bedroom through an unlocked back door and stolen his sneakers. That night, I removed her from my Snapchat because he did not want to get in trouble for throwing a party. He didn't tell his parents about Alexa. I wondered how she managed to figure out the address because we had asked everyone at the party to turn off their Snap maps so nobody could see the location of the party. After that awful weekend, I was tired of Alexa and her following me everywhere. She seemed crazy to me. First thing at school, I went up to Alexa and gave her a piece of my mind. I'm sure she understood since I had never seen her again. But it wouldn't be the last time because that next week, she left my school and I never heard from her again. On Christmas Day, I received a text message from an unknown number introducing herself as Alexa's aunt Alexison and requesting that I contact her. Is this a good way for Alexa to start talking to me again? Knowing her unhappy number was pretty weird, so I asked a group of friends if they also received this strange text message. They all said yes. One of my friends told me that she apparently does hard drugs now and sleeps on the streets. I found it kind of funny when another friend said rumor had it that she wanted to fight me. For some reason, I didn't believe it since she looked genuinely innocent, but boy was I wrong. Several months later, I'm not sure if it was just a coincidence, but this girl definitely found me and my two closest female friends. We were hanging out at the time. They begged me to go to a fast food joint on a Friday so we could get some snacks. It was nearby and many friends would hang out there around this time. It's usually a weird crowd there as well, so I hesitated. We started walking and arrived within 5 minutes. Two sketchy guys in dark hoods approached us as we stood in front of the entrance. They smelled like marijuana and asked if I wanted some. In the darkness, I could not see their faces. I declined their offer because I knew that they could have attempted to mug me or jump me in the parking lot. Their voices were low and they were taller than me. It was time to go inside. My female friends placed their order and we took a seat. 2 minutes later, I saw Alexa entering the restaurant with the same two guys. The fact that one of the guys was dating Alexa immediately set off a red flag for me. They stared intently at us from a distance. Right now, we had to leave, so I told one of my female friends to text her parents for a ride. She did not hesitate because she recognized their faces. Alexa was creepy enough, but her menacing look gave us nightmares. It just didn't feel right. In 10 seconds, something terrible would happen. I watched Alexa pick a fight with two friends at the table. Both of my friends were terrified and couldn't defend themselves, so I intervened and told her to get away. Her attention wasn't focused on me. She was screaming things that a deranged person with ill intentions would say. Her eyes were bloodshot red and she was right in my face. I think she was high. She then called the other two guys to back her up. Both of them were just as hideous. As Alexa was speaking, I could clearly see their faces. Suddenly, her apparent boyfriend spoke to me. He said if I left, he would stab me. He then showed me that he had a blade, and the tension in the room started to rise. I was terrified since I was outnumbered and they were armed. We had no one backing us up. Everyone looked at us silently. Employees either feared approaching us or were unaware of what was going on. Meanwhile, the boyfriend demanded my phone and any valuables I had in my possession, and my two friends were frozen in fear. It felt like a very dangerous situation. I've always been passive and wouldn't want to get my hands dirty, but I knew how to practice jiu-jitsu. As long as possible, I tried to keep my cool. I was looking forward to the ride getting there so we would get the hell out of there. It seemed to take forever. As these misfortunate teenagers underestimated me, Alexa's boyfriend said something very disrespectful, and that's when I snapped, lunging at both of them. I broke the boyfriend's nose in the end. It caused a huge disturbance in the restaurant. Even that freak Alexa recorded the brawl, and this is what she said on tape. She screamed at her boyfriend to beat me up. Our fight was broken up by the employees who told us to leave. I was ushered out of the building within that quick moment by my girlfriends. One of their mothers had come to pick us up. I turned around to see Alexa and the two guys were behind us, so we ran toward the car. Because they were armed with blades, it was the most gut-wrenching experience I have ever had. The boyfriend tried to pull me out before I slammed the door, and I kicked him a few times in the jaw and he fell. After we had sped off into the night, my two friends beside me were now sobbing uncontrollably. The mom kept asking me what was going on, and I was the only one who answered by telling her everything. Her mother told me later that I had to stay at her house. She didn't want me to walk home alone in the dark that night. Why didn't you just take me home? I just wanted to go home. We arrived at my friend's house, and as soon as we sat down in her living room, my phone began to vibrate. My good friend was on the phone, so I put him on loudspeaker. Other friends could hear him too. The bomb was dropped earlier in the evening. A group of guys tried to break into his house with Alexa. They banged on the door, screaming for him to open it. When his parents told him that the police were on their way, he ran and informed his parents that intruders were trying to enter. The kids booked it as soon as the police arrived. Additionally, he told me that Alexa was outside my house right after the incident. What did he mean, I asked. After that, he sent me a disturbing Snapchat story from Alexa. In the video, Alexa was outside my house with even more people than before. Where is he? She asked immediately. The fact that I didn't go home that night made me feel relieved. While they were outside, my family did not know they were there. I had the most stressful few days of my life after that. I kept receiving threats from an unknown source every minute. I knew who it was. They said they would find me either at my house or at my school. Concerned about my safety, I told my parents everything. I was scheduled for a meeting with 2 police officers to report the incident. I screenshotted several text messages sent by several contacts. The same contacts also called my mother. They said a bunch of crazy things to her that I couldn't tell you. After all of this, I realized how deranged and mentally ill Alexa was. She was acting in an abnormal manner for a teenager. She looked like she wanted to kill me. Being paranoid from that incident, I was at school a week later. There was a substitute teacher and nothing really was going on. It was the last 5 minutes of the last period and everyone was getting restless. The class was held in the basement of my school, and I sat next to one of my friends who was with me that night. The basement of our school was very narrow and creepy. There was a long dark hallway at the end of which my class was located. Then, my friend asked to use the bathroom, and when she returned a minute later, she looked frightened. It was almost as if she still had that look from that one night. She sat down beside me and whispered in my ear that they are here. I asked where, and she replied at the end of the hallway. When I cracked the door open to verify if she was telling the truth, what happened next felt like a horror movie. Alexa was standing at the end of the hallway. But she was not alone. My stomach dropped when I saw her. She was already looking in my direction, and her eyes locked. She was with 2 boys I fought earlier, and 3 other sketchy characters. Did the hallway monitor not kick them out? Who knows? As I closed the door, I felt the same dreadful feeling I had that night and that I was a dead man. I left my class after the bell rang and class was over. I saw that Alexa and her goons were slowly approaching me, so I left as soon as possible. My parents told me Alexa and her boyfriend had just been arrested for pulling off another act in that fast food joint. They appeared to be both frequent customers at that time, and the employees were apparently terrified. They were caught this time for good. We hope you enjoyed another video featuring true creepy horror stories from the files of Unsolved Ghost Stories. Be careful out there, and we will see you in the next video.